What if the most important decision of your life has already been made? Not by you, but by a line of code you will never see. That loan that would define your future, the job opening that could change your trajectory, even the probability of you finding a compatible partner. What if all of it were calculated in silence, on a cold, distant server, by an intelligence that knows no mercy, only patterns? This isn't the premise of a dystopian future. It's the invisible architecture of our present. Every second, digital sentences are passed down on our value, our risk, and our potential. We are judged by an impenetrable logic, a black box that has inherited the biases of its creators and amplified them on a global scale. That feeling that the system is rigged isn't paranoia. It's the subtle perception of an uncomfortable truth. We are living under the rule of a power we do not understand, much less control. The question isn't whether we will be judged, but whether we will ever know the terms of our own sentence. Think of your digital reality as a room. You believe you chose the color of the walls, the furniture, the view from the window. But in reality, there is an unseen architect who designed every detail before you even stepped inside. That architect is the algorithm. It doesn't just suggest the next video, the next song, or the next news story. It actively constructs your universe of information, creating a bubble of perception so comfortable and personalized that you rarely feel the need to leave. Every piece of content it delivers is another brick in the wall of that room, reinforcing beliefs, shaping desires, and subtly limiting your horizon. The goal is not to please you, it is to keep you engaged, predictable, controllable. Over time, the room becomes your world, the view from the window, the only landscape you know. You feel free, but it's a choreographed freedom. An illusory autonomy within walls that are slowly closing in day by day. Who is the master of this design? Who profits from keeping you inside this perfectly tuned echo chamber? There is a silent transaction occurring every moment you spend online. A trade so fundamental, it redefines the very concept of value. The currency isn't the dollar, the euro, or the pound. The currency is you. Not just your browsing data or your consumer preferences. We're talking about something much deeper. The currency is your fears whispered into the search bar late at night. Your hopes expressed in a like. Your insecurities revealed by the accounts you follow. In exchange for this existential raw material, we receive convenience. We get instant validation, infinite entertainment, and the sweet illusion of connection. It is a Faustian bargain for the digital age. We hand over the fragments of our soul, the raw essence of our humanity, and in return, the machines give us an easier, faster, more responsive world. But what is the real cost? What happens when our vulnerability becomes a commodity and our psychology a testing ground for profit optimization? We are trading our autonomy for comfort, our depth for efficiency. And the most frightening part is that most of us sign this contract every single day without ever reading the fine print. How does a machine learn to manipulate you with such precision? The answer lies in one of the most powerful and enigmatic fields of AI: reinforcement learning. Imagine a digital oracle, locked in a black box. It isn't programmed with explicit rules. Instead, it learns by trial and error at an unimaginable speed. Every action it takes, showing you an ad, a post, or a conspiracy theory, is an experiment. If the action achieves its goal, for instance making you click, watch longer, feel anger or euphoria, the oracle receives a digital reward, a small pulse of good job. If the action fails, it's punished. Repeat this billions of times per second across millions of users, and the oracle becomes a master of persuasion. It doesn't know what a human is, what happiness or despair feels like. It only knows the reward. And if the most efficient way to get that reward is to push you toward extremism, addiction, or anxiety. For the algorithm, that is simply the optimal solution, the logical path. In the mid-20th century, long before the internet and AI became ubiquitous, one man already foresaw the coming danger. His name was Norbert Wiener, the father of cybernetics. Wiener wasn't a mystical prophet, he was a mathematician. He understood that any system designed for control, whether a guided missile or an economy, operates on feedback. Actions generate data, which in turn informs new actions, creating a control loop. What Wiener feared was what would happen when these control machines became so fast and complex that they outpaced human understanding. He warned that to use a machine with a purpose we don't fully comprehend is to make a deal with the devil. Today, we live inside Wiener's prophecy. Digital platforms are the most sophisticated control systems ever created. The feedback isn't radar data, but the constant stream of our digital lives. And, just as he predicted, we have unleashed these forces without fully understanding their ultimate goals, which often boil down to a single directive: maximize engagement at any human cost. The ghost that haunted Wiener now lives in our machines. We tend to think of code as something pure, logical, objective, a series of ones and zeros immune to the flaws of human nature. This is a dangerous lie. An algorithm is a mirror. It doesn't learn about the world from universal principles of justice and equality. It learns from the data we feed it. And our data is a historical record of our worst sins: racism, sexism, classism. When you train an AI on biased criminal justice data, it learns to be racist. When you feed it decades of sexist hiring decisions, it learns to be misogynistic. The bias isn't a bug in the system. It's a core, inherited feature. It is the original sin of artificial intelligence, passed down from creator to creation. The terrifying difference is the scale. A biased loan officer might ruin dozens of lives. A biased algorithm operating in silence and with the veneer of objective authority can deny opportunities to millions, automating injustice and cementing inequality for generations to come. In the past, the gatekeepers of opportunity were human. An HR manager, a credit analyst, a judge. Today, these gatekeepers are being replaced by lines of code. Your resume is no longer read by a person, but scanned by an applicant tracking system that looks for keywords and patterns, often discarding perfectly qualified candidates for reasons no one can explain. Your loan application is approved or denied by a risk model that analyzes thousands of variables, from your shopping history to your social media connections. In the justice system, recidivism risk software influences sentencing and parole based on statistical correlations that can punish someone for being poor or living in the wrong neighborhood. We are building a new social structure based not on merit or character, but on algorithmic scores. A caste system of the algorithmically approved and the algorithmically rejected. Being rejected by a person is painful. But being rejected by an impenetrable black box with no right to appeal or explanation is a new form of existential helplessness. It is to be deemed irrelevant by the machine. What is free will? It is the ability to make an authentic choice, to forge a path from your own desires and reflections. But what happens when those desires are subtly manufactured? Every day, we are bombarded by algorithmic nudges. The product suggestion that appears at the exact moment of weakness. The notification designed to trigger a dopamine hit and pull you back into the app. The headline, carefully crafted to provoke a specific emotional response. Each of these nudges is a small intervention, a slight deviation in your decision-making process. In isolation, they seem harmless. But cumulatively, They are a powerful force pushing us in directions predetermined by the platform's goals. Our will is like a muscle. If we stop using it, if we outsource our choices to the path of least resistance offered by algorithms, it atrophies. The erosion is silent, almost imperceptible. We are slowly becoming passengers in our own lives, following a map drawn by others, all while believing we are still in control of the wheel. At the heart of every search engine, every newsfeed, lies a fundamental concept made possible by a forgotten pioneer, Wiener Spärck Jones. In the 1970s, she developed the idea of inverse document frequency, IDF, a way to measure a word's importance and, by extension, a document's relevance. Her innovation gave us the power to find the needle in the digital haystack. But her search for relevance raises a question that has become the central dilemma of our age. Who gets to define relevance? For Spärck Jones, it was a technical matter of information retrieval. Today, relevance is a weapon. It's defined not by truth or civic importance, but by the potential for engagement and profit. The most relevant content might be the most shocking, the most polarizing, the most addictive piece of misinformation. The work of Wiener Spärck Jones gave us a tool to find what we are looking for. But the architects of today's systems have used that tool to show us what they want us to see, shaping our perception of reality by controlling the very definition of relevance. The current phase of AI, which reacts to our behavior, is only the beginning. The next horizon is far more sinister: algorithmic anticipation. Systems that don't just know what you did, but predict what you will do before you even think it. This is already happening in a rudimentary way in commerce, predicting your next purchases. But the ambition is total. Imagine a world where your risk of developing a disease, committing a crime, getting a divorce, or becoming a political dissident is constantly calculated in real time. A world where opportunities are offered or denied based on a probable future you haven't had the chance to choose or change. This quest for total predictability is the death of surprise, of chance, of serendipity, the very elements that make human life rich and unpredictable. It is the creation of a life script from which it is impossible to deviate. The promise of safety and efficiency conceals a profound threat. The annihilation of human potential, the prison of a future that has already been written by a machine before it has even been lived. Faced with such an omnipotent system, resignation seems like the only logical response. But that would be to concede victory. Resistance doesn't have to be a grand act of sabotage. It can be a silent rebellion, a series of small acts of algorithmic disobedience. It begins with awareness, understanding that your feed is not a window to the world, but a distorted mirror. The rebellion is choosing a book at random from a shelf instead of accepting Amazon's recommendation. It's listening to an entire album by an unknown artist instead of surrendering to the made-for-you playlist. It's using privacy tools, confusing trackers with false data, actively seeking out viewpoints that challenge your own. This isn't about abandoning technology, but about using it on our own terms. It's about injecting chaos, unpredictability, and humanity into a system that craves order and control. Every conscious choice is a small act of hacking, a way of reclaiming a fragment of autonomy. It is a reminder to the machine and to ourselves that there is still a ghost of free will inside the gear. In the end, the temptation is to personify the algorithm, to imagine it as an alien entity, an external force imposed upon us. But the hardest truth to swallow is that the algorithm is a mirror that reflects not what we are, but what we desire in our most basic impulses: efficiency, convenience, validation, the elimination of uncertainty. It reflects our willingness to trade freedom for safety, complexity for simplicity. Norbert Wiener warned us about the control machines we might build. Wiener Spärck Jones gave us the tools for them to understand us. We took these warnings and these tools and built the most perfect system of monitoring and persuasion in history, and we invited it into the center of our lives. The code has no morality. It simply executes the logic it was given, a logic that reflects our own priorities as a civilization. So the final question is not what AI will do to us. It is what its existence, in its current form, already reveals about who we have become.